Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of We Watch Shudder. It's Spooktober, and who's here with me?
It's Michelle, and my belief system is broken.
Oh, we just dived right into therapy here. Hello, Michelle. Good to talk to you again.
Hello, JD. Good to be here.
You see, what really happened here is that me and Michelle dove into the therapy portion of tonight's show before we ever even hit the record button.
Yeah, because today was therapy day.
Today was therapy day for Michelle. 2 days ago was therapy day for JD, and tomorrow is going to be call the psychiatrist's office and apologize to a bunch of staff because you had a violent mood swing and were very rude to several people for no good reason day. That's how my therapy's going, Michelle. How's yours going?
My belief system is broken, and people do not have intrinsic value just for being alive, and that's a problem.
Wait. So you're saying? Wait, don't you mean, weren't you telling me that your belief system is broken and that's because you believe that people don't have intrinsic value, but in fact they do?
Yes. Yeah, so okay. I don't believe that, and I should, and that's why I don't think that I have value if I'm not contributing to the world, because I don't think that people have value unless there's an external factor, and I need to change my locus of control. Because I can only control the things within my ability.
Yeah,
the therapy's going really well.
You're learning all the words, at least. The locus of control sounds like something a therapist would say. No offense to any therapists out there.
On the plus side, I was already familiar with that one because I have been in therapy before.
Round 3, fight.
I'm like, I have a lot of self-confidence. I don't understand why I have imposter syndrome. And she's like, well, a lot of your confidence, as you're telling me about it, is because other people say that you're nice and other people say that you're funny. Do you believe these things without them telling you it? And I was like, oh my God, no.
Right? And as it turns out, self-confidence and self-worth aren't remotely the same thing. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem, it doesn't seem at all like that's the way how it should work at all. Like that seems like a terrible system to me.
Who designed this?
Nobody, and that's the problem, Michelle.
Oh, man.
So, if this is your first time tuning in to We Watch Shudder, hi, this is how it always goes. It's, we're having a real good October here. We're putting out a new episode every day. We're talking about a bunch of Halloween-themed movies, both horror movies and more family-friendly spookies. And this is the first time in our 3 years of doing this that we've been actively recording episodes during the month to make sure they get done by the end of the month. Oh, it's chaos. It's fun. I'm having a good time. I hope Michelle's having a good time. I don't even know why I'm still talking. Michelle, you say something.
I have been watching a lot of movies in Spooktober, and this is good because it's getting my numbers up. I think I'm up. We're on day 9, and I think I just hit 30 today.
Ooh, 30 already. I think I've seen 3 movies that I'm not watching for the show so far. So, I mean, hey, to be honest, 9 days into the month for me, that's not too bad, Michelle.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Anyway, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about a party full of murder. AKA a murder party.
Hey, spoilers, Michelle.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Look, I get it.
So
it's called Murder Party, but that doesn't mean you have to tell them it's about a party full of murder.
Well, if I told them it was a ton of crows, then that would really spoil it.
Yeah, this one really.
Crows is called a murder.
You're not wrong. A murder of crows, a crash of rhinos. Did you know that? That's what a group of rhinos is called. Is a crash. It's one of my favorites because it's also the name of a really old, like, 1990s Magic the Gathering card. It was a green sorcery spell, I believe, and it was called Crash of Rhinos, and I always thought it just referred to the rhinos crashing through the woods, which of course is where the name comes from, but I don't know that there are many rhinos in the woods, but anyway.
I used
Wow,
to have a
I'm-
list of what groups of animals were called.
Michelle,
And
you
the
remember?
second that I went to refer to any of them, I just completely blanked on a single one outside of Murder of Crows.
You remember? You remember how right before we started recording, I told you about how I can really tell that I'm in sort of a manic episode right now. Does it come across in how I'm talking, Michelle? Anyway,
No, actually, it does not. This is how you normally talk.
stop it.
You seem happy.
Well, I feel weird. Anyway, guys, we're talking
Oh,
about
okay.
Murder Party.
I get
we're
that.
talking
I am
about
also
validate
manic
my
sometimes.
feelings, Michelle. God damn it.
I'm saying that it is okay that you feel manic. I'm saying that at least you are not coming across that way. So
that's
I was
good.
trying to reassure you that, hey, even though you don't feel normal,
My brain
just
feels
so
so
you
fucking
know,
scattered
you seem
right now.
okay. Yeah, I get
but,
it.
But now, Michelle, what you're telling me is that even when I normal, I appear to be fucked up. That's the way I'm translating.
Oh, no, I'm thinking that even if you're fucked up, you seem normal.
I know. But that's how a sane person would respond to that. It's like, oh, I
I
just
have the
seem
name
like
of a
I'm
therapist for you.
I just seem like I'm fucking nuts all the time. That's great. Anyway, Murder Party. That's what we're talking about today.
We have a therapy portion of every episode of our horror movie podcast. Of course, we're both a little fucked up.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I went and because you finally convinced me. I went and watched Megan is Missing the other day, and we've already talked about it. And I'm not gonna say you owe me an apology because you were very upfront about you're probably not gonna like this. But oh man.
I think my
We'll talk
exact
about-
quote was, "You're really, really, really not going to like it," because I was
Yeah,
trying to
I believe
stop
it was
you.
three realies, and she wasn't
Yeah.
wrong. It's we'll talk about it another time. Anyway, we're talking about Murder Party today. Murder Party. Michelle, had you seen Murder Party before we decided to talk about it for today?
I had, because our friend Derek Haugen had
Derek.
told me about it.
Mr.
So shout out
Derek.
to Derek Haugen, and I had a bloody good time at House Harker.
If you haven't
he's
seen
one
that
of
movie,
the-
by the way, go check it out. It's fucking rad.
Yeah.
Super indie, just a lot of fun. Like old school making movies with your friends kind of fun.
Exactly. And I'm very happy that our podcast has meant that we get to talk to him sometimes. Because Derek's a pretty cool dude. And I want him to make more seasons of his shows. So that would be
Good Cops.
Good Cops. And the Western one that I literally just forgot the name of, even though I can picture it perfectly in my head. That's just how my brain works. I forget the words, but in my head, I had a work meeting yesterday and I was trying to explain something, and just while trying to explain it, I just went, listen, it makes sense to me and that's what matters. What you're saying makes sense. I just can't say it back to you. I was like, I get it. But
I know those.
yeah. I work in a very technical space, and the words that I was trying to use, it was the same word to define 5 different things. So it was like saying like, oh, well, I'm trying to place a block in the block, but I'm getting blocked by the block that's over here in this block. And I was like, I don't have the words to explain this process, but I get it.
And then
just
and
feel
then I'm
confident
sure-
in me.
I'm sure it also doesn't help that you work for a company that is also highly international, and you deal at times with people who maybe aren't necessarily speaking English as a first language. And man, chaos
Yeah,
ensues.
it's part of what I love about my job, though, is being like.
You would think, Michelle, that the entire world would have figured. Look, I'm not saying I don't appreciate the rainbow, right? The rainbow is beautiful. I just think sometimes maybe the rainbow isn't necessarily useful, and you would feel like the entire world at some point would figure out that the easiest way to do this is for everybody to just speak one language, and it doesn't matter which one it is, as long as we're all using the same one. Do you think we'll ever get there? Probably not, right?
I don't think so. Here's the thing. The world has mostly accepted English as a very like primary language, but the English language doesn't make sense. I know like Spanish is really high up there, and Mandarin, Cantonese, whichever Chinese one, Japanese is really high up there. There are others that are very,
No.
but like a lot of places, like I'm just saying that having English as one of the possibilities is not a good choice because English makes no sense. Japanese is too complicated. My vote would actually be Spanish, which is already highly spoken, but I also just love the German language. So that's what I was getting at, is English and Japanese, like probably the two most spoken languages and the two hardest ones.
Oh, my reaction there that I had to control so as to not be super interrupty. I'm very proud of myself right now. Is that
I was very proud too. I saw you and I kept going.
You what you said was the rest of the world seems to have kind of accepted English, and I don't know if that's exactly how it happened. I think perhaps there were certain entities that sort of forced English on the world.
Fair. See, and this is the problem with the English language, because I do not mean that they're happy about it, but I mean, a lot of European countries, there are so many languages over there, and they all kind of speak English, but it's also not the best language to be our universal language. Anyway, should we talk about Murder Party?
Yeah, we probably should. Thank you guys for sticking around. Murder Party is the name of the movie.
Murder Party.
You said you had seen this movie. I also saw this. Here's what I know. I know I have seen this. It's one of those that I saw in a very, very murky time in my life that I don't have a lot of very clear memory of. I do vaguely remember not being super taken by it at that time, but I remembered little enough about. Here's what I can tell you. I remember so little about it. For some reason, I thought at least one of them guys from that Comedy Central show, Workaholics, was in this. Definitely not. And now I've got to figure out what movie I'm thinking of that the dude from Workaholics is in that I thought was this movie. I don't know. Anyway, so Murder Party is the movie. Jeremy Saulnier did this. Did you know that, Michelle?
I did. Same guy who did Green Room.
Green Room and Blue Ruin and what's the other one that I can never remember? Maybe it's a different guy. No, those are the two, because I'm just looking at the rest of his titles, and I'm like, nope, those are movies you haven't seen yet, so there might not be a third one. I bet the third one was this one, Murder Party. Anyway.
Green Room, Blue Ruin, Murder Party, Purple.
Hold the Dark, Rebel Ridge.
Noun. Just lots of colors.
Yeah.
Murder's
By the way, if you
Sorry.
haven't seen Green Room, fucking check that movie out. Jesus, that's a whole different kind of horror. I don't typically get into the super hyper realistic real world kind of shit, but god damn, that movie's good. We're not talking about that one though. We're talking about Murder Party. The IMDb descripty script is stupid spoilery, but it turns out the very first sentence of the plot summary in Wikipedia is not. So here you go, guys. Murder Party. Christopher, a lonely meter maid, finds an invitation on the street to a Halloween costume party entitled Murder Party. Murder Party. 2007. Horror comedy. 79 minutes. Michelle.
Got murder. Yes.
Got murdered. That was great timing. I was like, Michelle got murdered. Anyway, you want to tell us your spoiler-free thoughts about Murder Party?
Yes, I would. This is a lot of fun. It's a type of comedy that I'm a huge fan of. It makes fun of a certain stereotype. There are a lot of really fun murders that happen in here. I don't think that's a spoiler, because you should assume that there's at least one murder at a murder party. Otherwise, it would just be any other party. I feel like one murder, it takes whatever occasion. It's no longer a birthday party, no longer a bachelorette party. That is now a murder party. So there's some fun murders. I just find this very interesting. I love the main character in particular. I think how he finds himself at this party and then what happens when he arrives, all of that is very funny and kind of endearing to me. And then these characters have such strong personalities that seeing them interact with one another, I didn't even care that I was watching what was somewhat a horror movie. I was just paying attention to the comedy and the plot development and actually caring about that. Not as much horror in this. It is very comedy and satire heavy, but that is not a complaint. It's just that kind of movie, and I do enjoy that. I am going to go with. mm, Let's just go a solid 4. I think this is really funny. I'm happy I've seen it twice. I would watch it again with a group of friends and probably actually laugh out loud. LOL. For real.
Lol.
Lol. GD, would you like to tell us your spoiler-free thoughts?
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, I know I saw this once before, and my vague memory was I wasn't entirely taken by it. And seeing it again, I'll be honest with you, I had similar experience. I have no major complaints about this movie. It's well made. There are a few moments that made me chuckle. There's some really solid gore effects in this, some real good horror going on here. But interestingly, I was not connected to the characters very much. I didn't find myself drawn in. I wasn't vibing with the story or the dynamics overall, and I don't think that has anything to do with anything the movie was doing wrong. I think it's just, I don't know, humor is a fickle thing, and some of the stuff made me laugh, but some of it fell kind of flat. It is well executed in every way, but it just didn't quite hook me for some reason. So I'm going to go right down the middle for this one. 2.5 skulls. No major complaints, but just wasn't for me.
Fair. Humor is subjective. Unfortunately. Well, yeah. Should we go to spoiler section?
Yes, if you want to see the movie before we talk about it in a much more spoilery fashion, this is where you're going to want to pause the episode and then come back later. All that is, it's pretty, I don't even know if we need to tell people that at this point. They'll be like, oh, they're going to get spoilers now. Maybe we do. I don't know.
But what if it's their first episode and they don't think we're
fabulous.
serious when we say we're going to spoil it?
Fantastic.
Like,
that's more anxiety I needed in my life. Anyway.
How? The thing that we've been doing is the right thing, and you get anxiety from it.
I know, Michelle. I know. Do you want to, well, it doesn't frankly matter if you, I guess it does matter if you want. I'm not going to force you to do it, but, I mean, would you be open to, yet again, from memory, recapping the plot of this film for Jenna and her ilk?
Whoever else did not watch the movie.
Yeah, man, I'm having a day, guys. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm having a day.
Even when I don't want to do the plot summary, for the record, I would still do the plot summary. I'm committed to our thing, and I would do it even. I think there's been one time, I can't remember which one, but I really did not like the movie, and I gave like a very like, whatever. And you're like, wow, you didn't. Oh, it was the newest Hell House, because I was so disappointed I couldn't even make my recap funny. I was like, I don't know, the clown's back. Because I had way too high of expectations. That's one that I'm going to revisit for Spooktober, but we can talk about that on Michelle in Review. Michelle.
Woohoo! We'll do Michelle in Review.
So Murder Party. Murder Party starts with a guy named Chris, played by a guy named Christopher. I know that was probably a difficult character for him to get into. Chris is a big ol' nerd. You know that he plays World of Warcraft and D&D. He is one of those. That is not a hate-filled comment, for the record. Love my nerds. I am also a flavor of nerd. This guy has watched a lot of anime, including Bible Black, the best hentai of all time. I have very passionate feelings about Bible Black. We can get into that someday. So Murder Party. Chris finds an invitation to what is described as a murder party. And he goes, I'm going to a murder party. It's Halloween. I should probably make a costume. And then he puts together a night costume with cardboard and tape. And let me just say, I know it's supposed to be kind of silly the way that he puts this costume together, but that is better than anything I could do in the span of like an afternoon or even an evening. That's a pretty damn good last minute night costume, and I refuse to hate on it. What I do hate on is that he makes oh God, what does he decide to bring? Some sort of baked good, not bread, something. But he makes something, and here's the thing. He makes it with raisins. And I do not trust anybody who thinks I'm going to bake something right now and I'm going to put raisins in it because I want to. I do not trust those people unless they are bringing a dish to a church or, oh no, JD put his hand, you better not be a baker of raisins. You better
No,
not.
I was just going to clarify it was, in fact, pumpkin raisin bread.
Thank you. And that should have just been pumpkin bread.
I agree.
The pumpkin,
Absolutely.
There's never an excuse for actively putting raisins in something.
The only
If
time
you're
I
out
ever...
there, yeah, if you're out there, I don't trust you. I'm sorry. Why would you do that?
The only time I ever want to eat raisins is if I'm eating raisins. I don't want to eat anything with them. Don't put them in no shit.
Well, trail mix. Trail mix. Is
No.
the best raisin.
No.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
No.
Wow. I didn't realize you were
continue.
gonna I didn't want to go full raisin hatred.
No,
wow,
I am-
you're just.
I am a, frankly, I don't know any other way to say it, but I am a raisin segregationist. Raisins must be kept to themselves and only themselves at all times.
I think this is the first time that a segregationist has made an argument that I don't think is that bad. We can talk about that later. So,
We
yeah,
need a better word.
Chris-
Oh my God.
Chris makes pumpkin and raisin bread because, that's how you're going to make friends at a party. And so he shows up to the party and there's a bunch of people there and they start laughing because they cannot believe that somebody found their invitation, actually showed up to the murder party, because the whole point of the murder party is they're going to murder whoever shows up. So they tie him up, put him in a chair, and then all of these artists spend a long time arguing about how they are going to kill him and make a big artistic message to the rest of the world. Because if you're going to murder somebody, you need to make sure that something comes out of it. So they argue about this. They invite over their super pretentious friend who says that he has an art grant and that they're all just trying to impress so that they can get some of this art money and, not be starving artists like so many artists are, unfortunately. At one point, they're all doing drugs, which is some sort of truth serum. They drug the pretentious guy and then find out that he actually does not have a grant and he's like a delivery driver or something. He has a dog with him named like Hell Warrior.
Hellhammer.
Those lines. Hellhammer. Thank you. So this guy's just a strange little guy. And they just all argue for the majority of the movie. One girl accidentally dies because she's allergic to preservatives, as she says. And then she gets very lightheaded, hits her head, and blood spurts out. And then she dies, so they hide her body in a freezer. So it's that kind of movie where people die without actually getting murdered for a lot of it. There are a couple murders, but a lot of them are just accidental dumb deaths. At the end, Chris does wind up escaping and he gets chased. And I think it's Bill who he finally kills and yells, "I just wanted to party," and then goes back home. And then just like we saw at the beginning of the film, his cat, Sir Lancelot, is in his chair. And at the beginning, I actually thought it was kind of sad that he was trying to get Sir Lancelot to move and Sir Lancelot would not. So then he just gave up. And Sir Lancelot, like, that's his chair now. And I thought it was kind of sad that, like, his cat doesn't seem to like him very much. But I think this ends on kind of a happy note because Sir Lancelot does move at the end. And then Chris just gets to sit in his chair and just hang out. And it's a happy ending, I guess. And now his life probably just goes back to what it was. And he just had a weird Halloween. Murder party. Murder party.
That is Murder Party. Yeah, that was actually a pretty solid recap, Michelle. I think you hit all the major notes.
Yeah, especially the part about raisins. I don't.
You did skip over the part about how the guy with the supposed grant money. There's that one scene where he's fucking that one lady, and then there's like that scene a little bit later where he's fucking that dude. That was like a thing they did. And that to me was one of the funniest things about the whole movie, which I think probably explains but should tell you I don't know what it was. Just for some reason, the humor in this was not connecting with me in a lot of ways. There are certain moments that I really enjoyed, but it just, you clearly enjoyed this much more than I did, and I like I said, I did find it interesting that you're specifically saying that you actually found yourself drawn to the characters and the comedy. Tell me a little bit more about that. Tell us about your experience with the film.
Okay. I just like any character like Chris. I've seen this character before. One of my favorite comedies is called Cheats, and it stars the guy from a bunch of things, and I can't think of his name, but he's essentially Chris from this movie. And he's just a little weirdo who's socially awkward and not great with people. And I think it's because I have so many friends like that I just find it endearing, and I love that character, and I will never complain about that character being in a movie. So the fact that we're just following him, and like at one point he interrupts because everybody's making puns in a circle, and he comes up with a good pun. So he's trying to get them to untape his mouth so he can tell them the pun, and then eventually they do, and they're like, "Oh, so you have a good pun?" And he's like, "Well, the moment's kind of past now." And then he says the pun, and it was something related to the K in night being silent, and I don't remember because it was not a good pun, and everybody just stares at him awkwardly. And I just love this lack of social awareness. So I thought he, as a character, not even saying much throughout most of this movie, I really like him as a person, so then it's easy for me to like the movie. And then I dislike all the people who want to murder Chris, so I was right there along with them. Plus, there's a dog in the movie, and I'm never going to complain about a dog. So, I mean, we got a character like Chris, we got this socially anxious guy, and we have a dog. That's like almost a 5-skull movie every time for me, just on those two facts alone.
But it had the raisins. Complain.
But it had the raisins, so we gotta take it down a couple notches. I think I went with 4. So I was like, how much should the raisins take it out? Full point. This would not have been a 5-skull for the record, but yeah, I do think it's very funny.
Pay attention. Don't put any fucking raisins in your movie ever again.
I think it does do a good job of conveying who Chris is, though. Chris is the kind of guy who really likes raisins, and that, he eats them plain like you do. He eats them with trail mix like I do. He puts them in baked goods. At least one cupboard of his kitchen is nothing but raisins. This man fucking loves raisins. He will eat raisins every goddamn day. He won't eat grapes, but he will let grapes dry out on his counter until they become raisins, and then he'll pick them up. Like, Chris is a raisin-holic. That prunes, this dude fucking loves prunes. What other weird kind of fruit-adjacent food is there? Like, this guy's all about it.
Well, I mean, those are still fruits. They're just dried.
Yeah. Okay, so non-moist fruits.
Dried. Here's what I don't. Is a tangent for you. They like dried apricots are pretty common, but they don't have their own name. Like a dried grape is a raisin, and a dried plum is a prune, but a dried apricot is just a dried apricot.
That's because nobody ever eats apricots when they're not dry.
Apricot.
Apricot.
I believe we've had this discussion before. Let's not get into it.
Apricot.
Apricot. Anyway, I think a big part of this to me. Michelle. Pow! Right in the kiss. Anyway, I think a lot of this that was just a little much for me is maybe it was a little too on the nose for art students. These people were. I'm sure they were meant to be annoying, but for me, they were kind of annoying in a way that I'm sure was not exactly what they were going for. I did love. Here's another thing that I laughed my ass off at is at the very end when he's just slams that pumpkin onto the dude's head, like you said, and he screams, "I just wanted to party." I thought that was fucking fantastic. I liked his costume. I liked his costume. It's just like, like he made a whole suit of armor with a helmet and a sword out of cardboard. because here's what I do like about that is it says, look, I know I gotta try a little, but I'm not gonna try a lot. Also, there's, I think, the subtle implication that he doesn't maybe have a lot of money. You know, he's a meter maid, right? It's just, that was a very, it was sort of a character defining moment. Like, you understand a lot about him from the cardboard armor costume. But just overall, how this plays out, I don't know, it's, like I said, I got nothing against it. I understand they're plenty. And Jeremy Saulnier is a guy who's gone on to do movies that I love. I love Blue Ruin. I love Green Room. I don't know why he's obsessed with colors in his titles. I don't care. As long as he keeps making rad movies, I'm going to watch him. But this was
you tend to
obvious.
like his serious horror stuff then, but you don't like his comedy very much, is what it kind of sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, at least so I think I'd have to see him do at least one other funny thing to be able to say that for sure. It does seem like when he does something a little bit more comedic is when I'm disconnected. There's one thing in this that, I don't know, I'm probably making a big deal out of it when it doesn't really need to be, but that I did find a little disappointing is at the end of the movie when he's like, he throws away his psych meds at the end of the movie, like his anti-anxiety meds, and I'm like, that's not how anxiety works at all, right? You don't have to just like, oh, you gotta confront your fears and go through a scary thing, and then you realize those silly little anxieties you had weren't nothing. Like, that's not how it works. In fact, this would probably ruin somebody with anxiety. They may never be able to leave the house ever again. And I think that got in my head a little bit, and I was just really kind of like, man, but I also, again, am probably reading way more into it than I should be.
I did not understand what the point of that was at all and what the message was supposed to be. So I was just like, I don't get it. Why would you throw it away? Because again, I'm thinking like you, of this would probably give me more anxiety and more stuff to talk about with my therapist. But then the funny conclusion, which I know is not why this was written in there, but it's how I've decided to interpret it because it's very funny to me. I went to Duluth this past weekend at the time of recording, and I was feeling a lot of anxiety throughout the day and like very like verge of panicking. Fall is my really bad mental health time. I don't like change, and like physically being able to see trees change, everybody's like, they're beautiful. I'm like, they're dying, and another year has gone by and I'm dying. So I panic. And so we're in this beautiful area in Duluth looking at beautiful stuff, and I'm panicking. And we had gone there specifically to go on the Haunted Ghost Ship tour. And when we were on our way to the Haunted Ghost Ship, I was like, I am not okay. Maybe I should take a Xanax. And then my husband was like, you should probably not do that because then you're not going to care about being on the ghost ship. And I was like, oh, that's why Chris did not take his meds, because he just wants to feel things again. And he liked that feeling of excitement the night before.
Could be. And as I sit here thinking about it, I do want to be clear. The movie never makes any specific explanation of this. You just see Chris look at his anxiety meds and he throws them away. But now that you've mentioned, that was my immediate interpretation, was just like, oh, well, I don't need to worry about them silly anxieties anymore. I've been through some real shit now. But then I just started thinking while you were talking there, and you could also take it, in addition to the way you were thinking, is you could take it as, well, ain't no fucking meds that are ever going to make this any better. So what's the point? There's no coming back now. But I think what pushed me in that direction was also that moment with the cat where he's like, he tells the cat to move, and now the cat's like, oh, I respect you now. I don't know. It kind of felt like it was pushing that way. And again, it's not a big deal. It was just something that I thought about when I saw it, and I was like, man, that's potentially disappointing.
What I actually thought might be the purpose was that during all of this stuff, when he was hiding, at one point his watch went off to remind him to take his anxiety meds. and that's what got him almost getting killed. So I was like, maybe he just said like, fuck it, these almost got me killed, so I just don't want to take them anymore, which is not a great mental health process, by the way. If you're getting prescribed psychiatric meds, don't just stop taking them. But also but also alprazolam is what's on that medication label, and that's a PRN, and he should not be taking it on a regular basis anyway. So I don't know why he has an alarm set. So I also read into the mental health medication, but don't understand it. However, it is a 17-year-old movie before Google was very prominent, and maybe they just did not understand mental health like we do now.
Michelle.
Yeah.
Here's what I love is that first of all, alprazolam, by the way, if you're not aware, that's the fancy name for Xanax. Is benzodiazepine. But I love how you're like, oh, alprazolam. That's an anxiety med. That's a PRN. PRN, in case you're not aware, means as needed. Yeah, it's it's like, oh, that's a PRN. You shouldn't be. As if anybody has ever taken drugs responsibly ever in the entire history of humankind. Oh, you shouldn't be taking those on a regular. Do you have any, Michelle? There are so many people who just take those on a regular basis like clockwork. And you're not wrong.
I am very paranoid about my Xanax.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why it stuck with me, because I have an alprazolam prescription and I am so scared to take them, which is why I'm always like, I don't know if I should. And then John's always like, that's exactly what they're prescribed to you for.
Right,
and I'm like,
right.
I know, but I like the way that they make me feel nothing, and I don't want to like that feeling. So I'm paranoid about it. So when he's just like taking them regularly, I'm like, oh no, Chris, you got bigger problems. Oh no.
Oh, that's great. Oh.
Yeah.
So, so Murder Party, again, the effects really good. When that dude's face gets all fucking melted after it lights on fire.
That is a good
I thought that was super dope. Really well done. Again, I don't want anybody to take anything I've said today as if I'm saying this movie did. And this is a perfect example of a movie that I know plenty of people really enjoy, just didn't connect with me. I strongly suggest, especially if you've seen Jeremy Saulnier's other stuff, go check it out. It may work for you, as it has worked for Michelle. So that's what I have to say about Murder Party. What else do you have to say about Murder Party, Michelle?
This episode has been all over the place. That's what I have to say about Murder Party. Oh, God. And I hope that people enjoyed it. And if they did not enjoy it, I hope they what was the word? I was going to say that they apologize. Is not that they forgive us. That's the word. I was like, not them apologizing.
If they didn't enjoy it, they should fucking apologize. Who the fuck do you think you are? How dare you? How dare you not enjoy this fucking mess of an episode?
I could have used more birds.
Could have used
a whole
more birds.
Actual murder. I would love if Chris had gone to a warehouse and there were just 100 crows.
And they were all like bebopping to disco music.
Ooh, yeah. I do fucking love birds. I learned a lot about pigeons today.
And then it's literally just 80 minutes of that. Just crows bebopping to disco too.
I would watch that. That's like 90% of my TikTok feed.
Oh, God.
It's just birds dancing. I love a good bird. Well, I saw seagulls in Duluth, and I was completely forbidden from throwing potato chips in front of me to summon them. And then I was forbidden from putting fries on the sunroof of our vehicle so I could watch them eat from below, which seems like a brilliant idea to me. And I still think Jenna and John were wrong about telling me I could not do that. I just wanted to see them up close.
I'm going to reserve judgment on that one because I don't want... Look, I'm not... No, I'm not. I would have been on your side. I think...
Thank you!
I get not wanting to, like, put them right, but putting them on the sunroof, that's a stroke of genius, frankly.
Yeah. I wanted to get a bunch of fries, and they specifically steered me away from any place where I could get fries or potato chips, because I know seagulls would probably eat anything, but it was very important to me that it be some sort of potato-based product. I wanted to give them a good treat and make this a positive thing for them, and for whatever reason, I think pigeons love potatoes. That's what, or pigeons, seagulls is what I meant. Sorry, so sorry.
Well, what they
I think
love is
seagulls love
grease and
potatoes.
salt.
Exactly. Like they
That's
wanted
what
a
they-
greasy,
'cause who doesn't
salty
love grease and
potato.
salt?
Exactly. See, and
Look,
I
that's-
wanted to put them on the sunroof. I was very excited. Why do we even get a vehicle with a sunroof if
Nobody-
I can't use it to watch birds?
Nobody actually eats French fries because they like a fried piece of potato, do they? I've always been under the
But
impression
I
that
love all potatoes.
people eat a French fry because it's a medium for like salt and dipping sauce delivery.
No, I fucking love potatoes. I
Oh.
ate potatoes raw as a kid. Like just bite
Oh,
into it like an
God.
apple. Delicious.
Oh no, you're.
That's how much I love
okay,
potatoes.
well, say goodnight. I'm sorry, I almost had to
Well,
end this
yeah.
episode right away. Jesus.
You like raisins. I like potatoes.
I
Don't
don't.
yuck each other's
yeah, but
yums.
keep your fucking raisins out of anything. Don't put them in anything.
Don't put your raisins in my potato. That's
No.
also a euphemism.
Don't put
Don't
your
put your
raisins in my potato. What is it? It is a euphemism. What does it mean?
Yeah.
Send us your messages about what you think. Don't put your raisins in my potato.
Also, send me messages that I can show to my husband of supporting that we should use the sunroof of our new vehicle to watch seagulls eat potatoes.
I thought
because-
you were.
Ugh.
I thought you were about to say send messages to my husband supporting putting his raisins in my potato. And it's like, Jesus, what's going on here? And what the problem is what's going on here is I'm a fucking weirdo. We got another one of these to record yet, Michelle. Should we wrap this one up?
Yeah, I think we said
right.
literally everything we can say. There are no other
Probably.
words left.
Come back tomorrow. We're talking about Hocus Pocus. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.
For more horror content, visit WeWatchShutter.com, where you'll find our world-famous, patent-pending Ghoul blog and Squelch files, as well as a schedule of upcoming episodes. Find us on social media at WeWatchShutter on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I guess Twitter if you're still doing that for whatever reason. You can email us. mail@WeWatchShutter.com is the address. mail@WeWatchShutter.com. You can even call and leave us a voicemail, 701-566-9510. No, really. 701-566-9510. Give it a shot. See what happens. We Watch Shutter is a production of Rat Factory Media.